Today, Donald Trump was issued a subpoena from the January 6th committee, which wrote to Trump, quote, "We have assembled overwhelming evidence that you personally orchestrated and oversaw a multi-part effort to overturn the 2020 presidential election and to obstruct the peaceful transition of power," unquote. At the same time, in the same investigation, Trump's former chief strategist, Steve Bannon, was sentenced to 4 months in prison for defying his subpoena from the committee. And Bannon looked like he loved every second of it.
Traitor! Lock him up! Traitor!
Thank you, ma'am.
The federal judge, a Trump appointee, we should note, said that Bannon has shown, quote, no remorse for his actions. Remorse isn't Bannon's thing. Revolt is.
Remember, this illegitimate regime, their judgment day is on 8 November.
Bannon's one of the main forces that spread those deranged lies about the 2020 election. But at least at the time, privately, Bannon seemed to know that this was all a scam. Here he is behind closed doors before the last election.
And what Trump's going to do is just declare victory, right? He's going to declare victory. But that doesn't mean he's the winner. He's just going to say he's the winner.
It's unclear if Bannon will actually end up going to prison. The judge is letting him remain free while his appeal process plays out. We're going to talk to his lawyer in just a second. Separately, Bannon is also facing charges of money laundering and conspiracy and fraud related to that online scheme to raise money to build Trump's border wall. Bannon's a busy guy. Even before he met Trump, Bannon was a man who wore many hats, or in his case, shirts. Navy, Georgetown, Harvard MBA, Goldman Sachs. Bannon seemed drawn to odd projects, such as the 1993 science escapade known as Biosphere 2.
The structure houses 7 small-scale versions of the Earth's various zones. Here, crew members monitor plant, animal, and atmospheric changes in an attempt to understand real-life biology.
It's been referred to in the past as a planet in a bottle.
Bannon has a real eye, a keen eye for opportunities. For instance, he bought a stake in royalties for a little show in the 90s that maybe you heard of. But in addition to that quality, seeing opportunities, Bannon has also long been drawn to a hostile, radical nationalism. After making some right-wing documentaries, Bannon became a founding member of the board at Breitbart.com, where Bannon eventually assumed the helm and helped turn it proudly into a website for the so-called alt-right. At the time, even right-wing talk show host Glenn Beck thought Bannon extreme and scary.
He's a horrible, despicable human being. By taking orders from a political candidate and reworking your entire site to promote the lies of a specific candidate without any kind of truth behind these things, that doesn't make you Roger Ailes. That makes you Goebbels.
Goebbels, tough talk for a fellow conservative from Glenn Beck. But you probably first became aware of Steve Bannon when he was chief executive officer of Trump's 2016 presidential campaign and then chief strategist and senior counselor at the Trump White House. Many in the public were afraid because of the bigotry on Breitbart and the accusations against Bannon of domestic violence and anti-Semitism, accusations from his ex-wife. Bannon's spokesman denied the allegations, but Bannon was focused on putting his plans into high gear, such as the so-called Muslim ban or purging the Republican Party of anyone remotely disloyal to Donald Trump.
They're going to be held accountable if they do not support the President of the United States.
Bannon brought that hostility into the White House. One senior Trump White House advisor told me today that Bannon at the White House was abusive and foul to the extreme to everyone on the staff. And President Trump was jealous that Bannon was getting more credit with the base than he was. So it was only a matter of time before Bannon was ousted. And after Bannon was quoted attacking Donald Trump Jr. in a book the next year, Trump publicly went after the man that he called Sloppy Steve. But Bannon did not return fire. Bannon has always played the long game. Bannon's long game is to tear down the GOP from the inside out and turn it into a nationalist party. And that's why you should care about Sloppy Steve, because he's using his podcast now to go after Republicans and to go after the Republic. Called The War Room, it's regularly one of the most popular podcasts on Apple. Bannon has millions of listeners.
Some of the figures he studied closest and admires from the past are actual propagandists, like the Nazi propagandists.
Bloomberg's Josh Green wrote a whole book on Bannon, and he reports that Bannon has studied the work of Nazi propagandist Leni Riefenstahl.
He showed me once, shot for shot, how he was copying in his own films what she had done in her films. So it gives you an idea of the depth of his belief in propaganda.
Do not underestimate Sloppy Steve. Steve Bannon is gifted. Steve Bannon has taken that War Room audience and turned it into what he calls an army. It's an army he's been quietly mobilizing to fight on the humblest of battlefields.
We're taking action. And that action is we're taking over school boards, we're taking over the Republican Party through the precinct committee strategy, we're taking over all the elections.
We're taking over all the elections. There's nothing wrong, of course, with getting the public involved in their political process. In a way, it's laudable. The problem here is what this Bannon army might do on those election boards, on these precinct committees, inside polling places.
We're going to take over the election apparatus. American citizens that are volunteering.
What are these people going to do once they're in charge of the election apparatus?
It is about who counts the votes, and guess what? We're going to count them.
Who are these precinct committee men and women going to elect in county and state parties? How are they going to do their jobs, if elected, to count votes on the local level? When Drew Griffin and CNN's investigative unit sat down with members of Bannon's army on the state level, it was very clear who was calling the shots.
And Steve Bannon was the one that I heard say exactly what Jody just said. Hey, all the Democrats do it. You got to get involved grassroots.
It was also clear that members of Bannon's army had been fed lie after lie after lie, lies that clearly would cause anyone to be concerned about how they might do their jobs.
To see all the anomalies during the elections, to see how, there's no way that Biden could have ever won an election. He didn't campaign. The most unpopular person. There's just if you believe that that was a safe and fair election, then I just can't help you.
It was a safe and fair election. This is a real threat to democracy, and it's playing out at such a local level, we might never even see what it means. So this is where Bannon's combination of traits, savvy exploiter of opportunity and Rasputin of modern nationalism, this is where it has led him and us. How concerned should you be? Well, one former German ambassador to the United States puts it this way in CNN's special report airing tonight.
Looking back over the last 70 years, over the post-World War II period, in my view, Steve Bannon was the single most dangerous American who came our way.
The single most dangerous American who came the Germans' way. Not to belabor the point, but the Germans know from bad guys. And even if Steve Bannon does end up in a prison cell, 4 months is not a long time. Moreover, his insidious influence, that cannot be locked up.